Did you know you can be a good player and still get no playing time? Did you know you can be a good player and not get off the bench at all? To be a good player and get out there and play one mistake basketball, as soon as you make one mistake, coach pulls you out. Did you know that? Did you know when they told you, oh, only the best players will play? Did you know that's not necessarily true? Today I'm gonna give you 5 things you could be doing to sabotage your chances of actually getting more playing time.
Hoop loudy.
Yes, indeed, Big Brother Bear here to give you all that you want and what you need. And before I get into my 5 tips that's going to be able to help you get more playing time when you're a good basketball player and you should be getting more playing time, let me go ahead and cordially invite you to come to this channel every week. I put out information helping student athletes, both in and out of sport, do the very best they can be. And my first one would be being decisive. Now, if you don't know what decisive means, that means being able to focus and make a decision. You're not like, which way should I? Should I? None of that. You know exactly what you're going to do, and you do it, period. Sure, you can make some adjustments along the way, but you're not looking at the bench asking for confirmation or affirmation of what you should be doing, none of that. You know exactly what you're going to do. You're trusting the process of what you've done to become the player you are right now, and now you're about to go hoop. And this could be tough, because if you're anything like me, you're a pleaser. You want to please people. You want them to be happy with you. To understand what I'm saying, I want you to think about 18 years of your life. Whether it be your mom and dad raising you, your uncle raising you, your aunt raising you, it doesn't matter. For those 18 years, that's like a practice setting before you get thrusted out in the world. Let's be real, it's probably to you like 23. But anyway, let's just keep it to 18. For those 18 years, that's a practice setting, okay? They're trying to give you all the tips, the tricks. They're trying to tell you all the plays, everything you want to see in life. They want to give it to you so you'll be prepared when you get in the game. When you paying the bills, when it's all on you. That's what they're there for. They're trying to prepare you for making those decisions once you leave the house permanently. Okay? Now, when you leave the house permanently, they've already instilled in you those things that you need. Decision making, critical thinking, who to hang around with, who not to hang around with, how to pay your bills, where to get a job, all that stuff. They've already put all those things into you. Now, once you get out there, you have to make those decisions yourself. You have to make, and you're not going to make all the decisions they want you to make. It's impossible. They didn't make all the decisions their parents wanted them to make. If they're telling you they made all the decisions their parents wanted them to make when they were your age, they're not being honest. The same thing is to be when you're on the basketball court. In the sense of when you get out there, whatever sport, when you get out there, you're going to glean from what you learned in practice, yes. But if you have the mentality that you are trying to do everything your coaches told you to do in the huddle, in practice, you're thinking too much. You're thinking too much. You're putting too much into it. Sports are reactionary, okay? It's muscle memory and reactionary. You don't have time to be thinking, overthinking, trying to do everything your coach wants you to do. A part of you being trained, a part of you going through practice has everything to do with you being able to build the habits that are necessary for wins. In the moment where you have to deviate from it and you're confident that you can make something happen, then you gotta make that play happen. Okay? You gotta make that play happen. But by you overthinking things, you end up playing defense on yourself. I'd rather have a decent player that is decisive and sees something and goes after it than a very good player that's indecisive. Hoopers hoop, players play. When you get in there, that's it, right? You've already practiced for it. Trust that what you trained was effective, and you get in there and you get to measure up. Don't overthink it. Play, be loose, enjoy it, have fun. It should be fun. This is not calculus. This is not trigonometry. This is basketball or whatever sport you're playing. The moment that you're in your head so much, you're going to be on the bench for a while to come. The second thing that could be keeping you on the bench, even though you're a good player, is you have too good of a memory. You have too good of a memory. When you think of people like a Steph Curry, like Klay Thompson, like a Reggie Miller, like whatever best shooter you can think of in your mind, other than them being a great shooter, you know what they all have in common? They don't have a great memory, at least as it relates to their mess ups. They don't dwell on things that are negative. They don't dwell on, they just went from 0 for 7 from the 3-point line. They still think that they're going to hit the next shot. They use their memory not to focus on things that are negative and I missed my last shot, but to focus on, I know I can hit this shot. I've put up this shot thousands of times in the gym, and I'm just going to stick to my skill set, stick to my staying in rhythm and shooting a shot in flow, and I'm going to knock down the next shot. That's what they focus their attention on. Somewhere along the line, people start thinking that if they show visibly that they're upset, if they show that they're mad because they made a mistake, that means they're more competitive. That means they're more into it. That means they're more dialed in. And I'm here to tell you, it does the exact opposite. That time, that energy that you're putting into showing that you're visibly mad because you missed a free throw or that you turned the ball over, that's time you could have been using to be more productive. You're not getting any, trust me, you're not getting any bonus points from scouts, whether that be professional scouts or whether that be collegiate scouts or whether that be high school scouts. You're not getting any extra points if they come in the gym and see you pouting because you bobbled the ball and you just want to show everybody you're very competitive. That's not what it is, okay? When you hear about Jordan and Kobe and they're talking about their competitive nature, they're not talking about because they have the ability to pout when they mess up. They're not talking about they have the ability to yell at people when something goes wrong. That's not what they're talking about. They're talking about not only recognizing they made a mistake, but doing the very next productive thing to minimize another mistake and taking care of the first one. That's what being competitive is. Being competitive has nothing to do with dwelling on what happened previously. It has everything to do with making the next productive move, your best move, moving forward to a win or a victory. Number 3 would be you could be on the bench because you blame others. You don't take any responsibility. It's always someone else's fault. And you may think that's an easy way out, and you can blame this person for not coming off, from not hedging the screen, or this person for not passing you the ball, or this person for not doing the play correctly. But when it all boils down, when you continue to do that, what happens is you don't have any building blocks to actually build a foundation. We can't build off of it and be better as a team if every time that you have an out, you use that out and blame it on someone else. What I found to be true is the best leaders, the best generals, the best coaches, the best players, when it comes to leadership, they take on the responsibility regardless, even if it's not their responsibility. They just have an extreme ownership on whatever is taking place. Like, oh, well, it's my fault. They could be on the bench and not even a part of a play, and they'll still take ownership and they'll still take responsibility and say, well, maybe if I would have practiced with him more in practice, then we could have helped him hit that shot. Maybe if I would have done this. And that's the mentality that you got to have as far as being a leader, but also understand that this could be a thing of why you're not getting off the bench, even though you're a good ball player. Is not being able to take responsibility when you do mess up. Number 4 would be baggage that you bring with you. Is the juice worth the squeeze? Is it worth you being in rotation when you're gonna have a negative attitude? That means, like, if you're on the bench, does that mean that if you're not playing major minutes, does that mean you're gonna have a piss poor attitude, which is gonna spread on to everybody else? That you're always gonna be negative? If that's the case, why play you? Why play you? Why only play you when things are going well and you're playing more minutes? Now, some of you may say, well, why am I on the team anyway? Well, maybe you're on the team because you're good enough. So if I'm in a pinch, if coach is in a pinch and we get in foul trouble, then I have to use you, then I'll use you. But if I have a choice, I'm going to use someone that's not going to give me attitude. I'm going to use a person that can respond to some adversity. I'm going to use someone who's not going to talk negative about the program or the coach or negative about other players. That's the person I'm going to use. Number 5 comes from a recent comment that I saw that said something along the effect of, what if you can play a larger role? And I think that piece is something that I felt coming through. Like, I always felt like I could play a larger role. But if I'm being honest with myself, and if you're being honest with yourself, when you say a larger role, what do you mean? I guarantee you mean scoring role. Because everybody wants the glamour, everyone wants the hype, everyone wants the focus on scoring more, right? Everybody wants that attention of, I'm the person. I'll drop 40, I'll drop 20, I'll drop 30. Everybody wants that, right? So when people say, I feel like I can play a bigger role, 9 times out of 10, that's what they're talking about. But this is the very thing that can cause you to stay on the bench even though you're a good player. You should be more focused on the role that you need to play for your team and not the role that your ego wants you to play. Because if you just want to play a bigger role, there's tons of roles you can play on the team. that's not as glamorizing. They're like, diving on the ground. How many times can you dive on the ground and get loose balls? How many times can you get offensive rebounds and create more opportunities to get points that way? How many times can you get charges? How many charges can you take a game? See, these aren't roles that people normally want to play when they say I can play a bigger role. What they want is, coach, draw me up a play so I can get the ball and shoot the ball. Coach, how can I get more touches? How can I get more assists? I don't want you to focus on those things. And I know that if you focus on just the glamorizing roles, it'll get to the point where you can tell that you have a whole different agenda than the actual agenda that the coach has for the team to win.
And if you don't want to take my word for it, think about Devin Booker. Now, Devin Booker went to the University of Kentucky with Coach Calipari, and he only averaged 10 points a game. I say only averaged 10 points a game, like that's not a big deal, which it is. But when you think about the fact that he scored 70 points in an NBA game, 70 points. No one would have thought that he would be able to do that if he's only averaging 10 points a game in college. But what you have to understand is he played the role that he needed to play for his team and not necessarily the role that he wanted to play for his ego when he was in college. He had some NBA guys next to him. He had the Harrison twins. He had Karl Anthony Towns. He had a couple other 7-footers that demanded the ball. He was not in an offense that he can just go off for 30 and 40 points every night. He wasn't in that offense. That doesn't mean that he can't hoop. That doesn't mean he can't score. That just means that he was mature enough to play the role that his team needed him to play and not the role that his ego wanted him to play.
In order for you to be the best for the team, you have to put away your own ego and your own role that you want to play and play the role that they need you to play.